Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SEO Strategies, Tips, and Tricks. This webinar is brought to you by your local digital service squad. The Digital Main Street program is brought to you by FedDev Ontario, the province of Ontario, the Ontario BIA Association, along with the Toronto Association of BIAs. Here, specifically in Simcoe South Georgian Bay, the program is managed by the Small Business Enterprise Center with additional support from the County of Simcoe, the Town of Collingwood, and the Town of Blue Mountains. Just to say thank you for making it possible. And we're grateful for all their support in making this available to the greater business community here in Simcoe South Georgian Bay. If you have not reached out to your digital service squad team to learn more about all the digital marketing supports available to you through the Digital Main Street and Beyond program, you can book a 30-minute consult to get started, and I will be putting the link to our booking calendar in the chat box to do that. And we're excited to be here with you today. Presenting today is one of our team members, Maggie Mullen, who is our website and coding and everything technical expert. Welcome, Maggie.
Good morning.
And I will, without further ado, hand it off to you to take everyone through our SEO strategy tips and tricks.
All right. So today we're going to go over why do you want to have a good SEO strategy. It improves your Google search ranking and drives users to your website. These are 10 tips and tricks that you can use. So keywords and phrases. You may be asking yourself, what is a keyword or a phrase? Now, these are the words that users enter into a search engine. In terms of search engines, a keyword is any search term entered on Google or any other search engine that has a result page where your websites are listed. So you want to add keywords early on in your content. You want to use your keywords a handful of times on your page. You may not know that the location of your keyword also makes a difference. Specifically, you want to mention your main keyword at least once at the top of your page. Why? Google puts more weight on terms that appear at the top of a web page. Write unique titles, descriptions, and content. Avoid duplicating content is one of the most important SEO best practices to keep in mind. Google has stated that you should avoid duplicate or near duplication versions of your content across your site. This applies to every piece of content on your web page, like title tags, meta description tags, e-commerce product page, landing page, image alt text, and category pages. So basically, if you publish a page on your site, you want that content to be 100% unique. If you run a small blog with a homepage that has a bunch of posts, this can be easy to follow. But if you have an e-commerce site with lots of products, writing unique content for each page can be tricky, but it's worth it. It's kind of a big deal. If you're having trouble writing content for each page, consider combining your pages that have similar content together. Optimize your title tags for SEO. For on-page SEO, your title page is key. Now you may be asking, what is an on-page SEO? It's the practice of optimizing individual web pages in order to rank higher and earn more relevant traffic in a search engine. Google has stated it's important to use high-quality titles on your web page. How do you get the most out of your web page title tags? So front load your main keyword. Front load simply means that you start your title tag with your target keyword. As you can see in the image beside, cheap hotels, the word cheap is the first word in the first 3 search results. So why? Search engines pay close attention to the terms that you use in your title tag. This is why you want your keyword in your page title. What you might not know, Google also puts more emphasis on words and phrases that show up early in your title page. So if it makes sense for your site, start your title off with the keyword that you want to rank for. If you can't start your title tag with your keyword, just include it as early as you can. Don't forget, you need your title tag to make sense to users, so add keywords as early as you can. Use 1 keyword per title. Google is very clear on this. You do not want to stuff your title with a bunch of different keywords. This is known as key stuffing. This is viewed as bad practice and can have ramifications on your ranking. Instead, use 1 main keyword in your title. Write compelling and shareable titles. Title tags should make people want to click on your page to learn more. Why? When a lot of people click on the results in Google, you can start to rank higher for that term. You want to write title tags that are interesting, compelling, and push people to share. Optimizing your site loading speed. Google doesn't publicly talk about their Google factors in their algorithm, so when they specifically mention ranking signals, you know it's a big deal. So your first step in this is you need to benchmark your site's current loading speed. You need to know where you are before you can start to make changes. Page speed insight tools from Google give you a detailed report that includes ways to improve. Now, if you want to go a bit deeper with your page speed, check out Web Page Test, free tools that tend to give you more of an accurate feel of how your site's loading. Load time is really important. Here are a few ways you can improve your site's loading speed. Compress images. This is important. Images tend to make up the bulk of a page size, and I mean in kilobit terms. Using tools such as Kraken.io to shrink your image sizes can improve your load speed. Use lightweight themes. Bulky WordPress themes can slow things down. If your theme isn't optimized for speed, consider switching to one that is. Use lazy loading. So lazy loading images can boost your site's loading speed by 50%, but there's a downside. The images show up as the user scrolls down the page, which isn't great for your user experience. Track your results with Google Search Console. If you don't have a Google Search Console set up, you're flying blind in the sense of your SEO. So the Search Console, it's a live dashboard that gives you insight into how your site is doing on the SERP. SERP is just the search engine result page. There are tons of cool features and tools offered with this program, but I recommend checking out these 3 reports regularly. So first, you want to look at your performance page. This lets you know how many people are seeing and clicking on your site in the Google search. You can see the exact keywords that people use to find your content and where you usually rank. This is all really important information to know, but the real value is tracking your impressions, clicks over time. This is where, if these are moving up, this is a clear sign that your SEO best practices are working. If it's not, you may need to look at a different approach. The second one you want to look at is coverage. This lets you know which pages your site Google has indexed. It also lets them know if you're having trouble fully crawling your pages. Now you may be wondering, what does index and crawling mean? Index is simply a search engine index of a huge database for all quality content that's been discovered on the web. Crawling, or crawlers, is a program which moves through the World Wide Web or a website by ways of linking structures together. And it looks at all your code and your URLs for every page that it finds. If an error or a warning pops up here, they need to be addressed as soon as possible. If Google can't index your page, it won't rank. The nice thing with Google is it won't just tell you that they can't index your page. They'll usually let you know what is causing the issue so you can fix it. The third is the element. Now, the main thing you want to look at on this report is mobile usage. You want to make sure that your site is easy to use on a mobile device, because nowadays, that is where the most searching happens. These devices are used everywhere, and it's so important. Optimizing images for your SEO. Image SEO isn't just for ranking on Google Images page, but also properly optimized images can help your page rank higher in Google Web Search. If you use images on your page, make sure they're optimized for SEO. So this is easy. Keep these 2 image SEO best practices in mind. So you want to name your image files with descriptive file names. Google doesn't see the actual image itself, but your file name is the one thing that helps to understand the content in your images. Use image alt text. Google has stated that largely rely on alt text to understand images. This only takes a few extra seconds to write alt text for each image. Just like your file names, you want your alt text descriptive to let the search engine know what your image is all about. Use internal linking. So one easy SEO best practice to use, all you have to do is add a link from one page on your site to another page on your site. You don't want to just add these links randomly. Although it is better to have random links than none at all. You can implement these tips. So use keyword-rich anchor text. Google uses your anchor text as a cue to what a page is all about. The main idea here is to use anchor text that includes your main keyword. Send authority to your pages. Now you may be wondering, what does authority mean? That's the amount of trust that a site is credited with for a particular search query. So you want to internally link the page that don't have much or any link authority. When you do this, you actually send much needed authority to low authorizing pages. This boosts its Google rank. Don't overthink this step. Even links from old pages to new pages can do this. Old pages tend to have more authority than new pages anyways. Publish amazing content. Publish original, helpful content that helps you rank higher in Google. For example, if you're writing a blog, look at having over 300 plus words. Having more than 300 words keeps your blog from being considered thin content. This also allows Google to have a better idea of what the text is about. Google tends to rank long content higher, but remember, quality over quantity. No one wants to read a badly written piece of content. If you want your content to rank, then your content marketing game needs to be on point. This means spending time on content you publish. Again, quality over quantity. If you're willing to publish amazing stuff, you have a good shot at ranking in Google for your target keywords. Building backlinks to your website. You may be wondering, what's a backlink? It's any link that any link into a page or a site from any other page or site. So say your favorite blog and it has content on it that is all about your website or your page. If you have a link on your website to that blog, that's considered a backlink. So there are a few ways that you can build these links in your site. Focus on a content format that tends to do best in terms of backlinking. So these are posts that are about our what or why posts, along with infographics. They always get more links than content that's similar to videos. Now, this won't automatically result in links, but you have a higher chance than other people will link to you. Another main part about backlinking is having a hook, an angle, a data point, or something controversial that will encourage people to naturally link to you. Improve your site's user experience. Improving your site's UX can directly and indirectly help your SEO. If enough people bounce from your site to the search engine, it shows that your results didn't give the searcher what they were looking for. One easy way to get a better understanding of your web preference is having a digital audit done by the Digital Service Squad. This free service will go through all of your sites and give you a detailed breakdown of what you're doing really well as where you can improve, with examples of how you can make those improvements. A few other examples of how you can improve in this area: your navigation. You want to have clear titles, subtitles, and organized content. You want your users to be able to find information quickly and easily. Having a best suited call to action button on your site, Facebook page, or Instagram page, this easily directs your answer to where you want them to go. Some examples are shop now, call now, email, buy. These are all great examples of what you can add to your site very simply to have that great user experience. Now, what about single page websites and individual pages and multi-pages? So single page sites, what are the pros for this? So single page sites tend to have a faster load time. They're easy to update and maintain, clear and comprehensive. It splits the content into chunks and removes user experience clutter. It's a linear navigation flow, which tells a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And they tend to be easily viewed on the mobile devices. Cons, though. You may not rank high with Google. Less content equals less targeted keywords. And they tend to have a narrow focus as well. So a multi-page site. So these are unlimited scalability. You can create as many pages as you'd like and expand navigation systems as needed. Navigation flow of multi-page sites is easy to follow. This is a powerful SEO capabilities because there's a larger amount of content that you can optimize for your SEO. The downside, maintaining and updating content. Do you have enough content to fill all of these pages? Remember, Low quality or under-optimized content is bad for business. This multiple pages can also make your load time slower, and it could be harder to adapt on a mobile device. This can result in your search engine ranking starting to dip. User experience can indirectly help with SEO because people are more likely to share a link to a user-friendly site. So, if your site is hard to use, uses intrusive pop-ups and ads, or has broken links, even if your content's great, it can result in your ranking starting to dip.
Can I just say how much I love that graphic?
I thought it was a good one.
It is very funny. Anyway, moving on.
So another great thing with SEO is local SEO. So what you can do to make sure that your website or pages are being found in your local area is that you can add a location page to your website and create content that is relevant to the local area. Using these keywords such as the name or town will allow people around you to instantly find your page when using those words. For an example, you could go, so Thornbury, you want to go to a bakery? So you put Thornbury Bakery, and sure enough, Thornbury Bakery will pop up, but so will other bakeries in the area. Ashanti's, the Cheese Gallery will all appear because of those keyword searches. Now, becoming an SEO all-star doesn't happen overnight, but using these tips and tricks with ongoing effort will ensure that you're always improving. These are the references that I used for all of this information, and all of them have extra information as well for anything that we covered today. Because everyone can be an SEO all-star just with effort.
Awesome. Thanks, Maggie. I thought because we do have quite a bit of time here, let's maybe kind of take a step back and unpack some of these ideas and tips that you've laid out. And we can also just a reminder that questions are welcome. Just drop them in the chat. Laura McDougall asks if we go back to the resource page so I can take a photo of the links. Laura, did you get here's the document with those direct links in it. I'll drop it again in the chat so you can download that and you don't have to take a picture of it and write them out. And Caitlin has 2 questions. So yeah, title tags. She'd like some examples. And yeah, this is kind of what I was eager to do since we've got some time. So kind of take a step back and unpack some of these tips a little bit more. So when it comes to title tags, can you go into a bit more detail on what is that, some examples, and anchor text?
Yep, so a title tag is what you're gonna put in when it's the title of your page essentially. So what you want is for having keywords in your title page. Say your page is about you're making mugs. You wanna put the name of either the product that you're selling or the name of your actual business in that title tag so that those keywords are coming up directly for your link. So the example that we had on the slide was, I think it was cheap business or cheap tourism. And you've seen that when the user puts in cheap businesses or cheap tourism, the first page of the search engine or ranking page will have those words in it. So it's what it is making sure that your title tag and it has keywords that directly link to your website or any of your pages, so you can have people clicking easily to get that information. And then anchor tags. So an anchor text is a clickable text and a hyperlink. Hyperlinks are your actual website HTTP codes. They're actually the link to it, and they're usually in blue. So the SEO best practice dictates that an anchor text should be relevant to the page that you're linking to, rather than a generic text. The blue underlying anchor text is the most common, as it's the web standard, although it is possible to change the color of the underline. So what it is, it's the actual link, clickable link that you have that directs straight to your website or page.
Right. So yeah, I guess if you're creating those backlinks or links throughout your site to other pages, right? An example would be if you're linking to your page about mugs, you wouldn't want that anchor text to just read "click here." You want it to be something more descriptive, correct?
Yes, you want it to be something that is exactly about what your site is about. So for mugs, you want to make sure that the keyword mug is in there, either the very first or at least somewhere near the beginning. Again, if your keyword doesn't make sense for your website to have as the very first word, that's completely fine. You just want to make sure it's the closest to the beginning of your site as you can get that makes sense.
Right. And so if we kind of take another step back, what are some ways that people can kind of start this process in figuring out what are the right keywords that they should be focusing on and starting to kind of build up within their website?
So there's actually a lot of different programs that you can search on Google or any search engine. One is Mott's. What it is it's actually a keyword website dedicated to finding keywords that will join to your website. So what it is you'll go to this page and you'll actually put in your URL in there, and it will give you the top 10 keywords that will directly work for your page site.
Laura asks, how do you spell that?
Oh, I'll add it to the chat. Give me 1 second. I'll give you a direct link.
Okay. So Lee asks, when using Facebook for advertising, they don't let you make promises. I have separate sales pages to satisfy Facebook, and it repeats content. Is there a workaround for this? So essentially, I guess you got a landing page with different wording to satisfy Facebook versus other channels.
So Facebook has its own algorithm that it uses, and it has its own system that it'll use, especially for their ads. So you're kind of left in the hands of Facebook for doing specific advertising on their site. Again, you want to use either a couple of keywords, or you can use what's called a long-tailed keyword as well. So in a long-tailed keyword, it's more kind of like a sentence. So that's where a good idea would be if you want to add in your location. So if you want to put in, for a mug store, it would be mugs, retail, sales, and then Thornberry. And then that way, the longer tail you have, the more chances you have of catching those keywords to be clicked.
And then someone else was asking for the website URL.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just looking for that, and I'll make sure to put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to also talk about, oh, actually, here's another question. So with respect to repeat content, so I make a claim on my website. My sales page doesn't make specific promises, but the descriptions, rates, benefits, etc., are the same. So, question for you, Lee: Are you are you running into problems with Facebook specifically? Are they shutting your ads down? I would say maybe book a consult with us and we can look at that issue in more detail, because there might be some other things at play there, and we can help kind of figure out what barriers you're getting hit with.
So I just put in the website that'll help you with beginning your keyword research.
Yeah, perfect. And then when it comes to writing the content, I know there are some tools, especially for WordPress websites like Yoast Seo. Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of what other tools people might seek out for when they actually sit down to write the content and get some feedback on how well it's written and performing for them?
Yeah, so there's a couple, each site, such as WordPress or Wix, kind of has their own support systems with writing your content. Another really fun way, if you're doing anything with your social media aspect, is Canva has really awesome different stylizations or images or animation that you can use for your different stories or posts, which really add a little bit more creativity and catch people's eyes a little bit more. A main thing with writing content for more of a social side is that, again, you want quality over quantity. If you are writing posts that have a lot of wording, the chances are people aren't going to be wanting to read that really quick. So you want to make sure that your social media posts are really engaging, and you want to link from there to your blog or to your website or any other page you may have, and give the overall detailed content in those areas. Another good one that you can use is I use Grammarly on my computer, which is really fantastic if you are like me and have trouble spelling or any other problems with grammar. It will instantly help you be able to reformat what you're writing. It also helps whenever you're using passive content or encouraging content. It really helps be able to design and write your content in a very positive manner.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've heard a lot about those sites, and yeah, when you talk about tone of voice, it is great to have that kind of added support, kind of pushing you in the direction to keep things on a positive tone and voice. That's a great idea.
Another one is if you're writing blogs and you want to get over that 300 word count, even Simple Word will do a word count for you, or again, Grammarly will do that as well. So you can kind of have an idea of where you sit with how many words that you have already on the page. It also can do searches for repetition in words. So if you're repeating the same words a lot, it will flag that as well for you.
Yeah, right. So can you just drop the Canva link and Grammarly into the chat, if you can, for everyone?
And Canva is really cool. It's a new one that I just started to use. but you can do full presentations on it. You can do business cards. You can really design an entire brand for yourself using this program. And it's really important too, whenever you have multiple sites, that you keep the same branding across the sites so that users can identify you right away. Nice.
Just one more question before we jump to one in the chat. When it comes to blogs, I mean, you mentioned word count. I know a lot of people ask us often what is sort of the recommended word count. Do you have a kind of take on that particular question?
So for Google ranking, you want to have a word count that's over 300 words. If it's lower, then it's considered thin content, which is the same as calling it not great quality. So the less words that you have, Google automatically won't look at it as closely. If you have over 300 words, Google will not only have a better idea of what your content is about, but you will also hit keywords more times in a longer piece of content like that.
Right, yeah, perfect. And because, yeah, we often see when we're doing our digital audits, right, is that when people have a lot of products, or, you know, they've put up their e-commerce site and the product page, but they've kind of skimmed over filling in the content, like even just a description about that product. And like how valuable is that to have on that page?
Exactly. And another big one too that I mentioned was, I know e-commerce sites can have a really big hard time kind of rewriting unique content for every piece of, or every product that they have, especially if you have, you know, 10 different styles of shoes. And I know it can be really hard to write unique descriptive content for each item. That's why I suggest, if you have items that are very similar, then if you combine them onto the same page, then you won't have that duplication happening, and you'll have a higher ranking with Google as well.
Nice. So Leanne asks, can you go over image SEO a little bit more for those of us with a lot of image content, please? And yeah, so I mean, I know Leanne actually, we've done a consult together, and she's an artist. So obviously, yeah, she's got a lot of image content on her website. What advice can we give Leanne or someone in her situation?
So the first thing you can look at was, if you have multiple images on a site, is you want to see how big that file is. So and that's looking at it in kilobits, in kind of like microbits, what the computer uses to be able to upload that image. So if you have a really large image file, then it's going to take the computer a lot longer to be able to pull that information. So there's a couple of things that you can do. One, you can resize your imagery, or you can compress your images. There are tools that help compress images to make them into a smaller file size, such as Kraken.io, which I'll put in the chat as well for you. And what it is because images have so much in them, depending on what kind of photo it is as well, they take up so much space in the loading that you really want to be able to compress those files so that you can load so much quicker and keep the same quality of photo as well.
Yeah, when it comes to file types, usually if you go with JPEGs, they will be smaller size, but could be a little bit lower in quality, whereas a popular format, another popular format being PNG, they tend to be higher quality, but can be bigger file sizes. So you want to kind of find that balance between, as Maggie was saying, between the quality, you know, keeping them on point, but then without going too big. And what would you say, Maggie, in terms of would be too big of a file, or where would you kind of put that limit if for someone who has a lot of images?
So it'll depend too with how big of a file size you want for the individual image files, depending on how many files you have per page as well. If you have a lot of photos or images on one page, you need to make sure that those images are as small as you can get them to be able to still produce the same quality. Now, this will change depending on the type of image it is, but I definitely recommend using a PNG file, as it not only will give you the best compression, but it still keeps the quality to the best form. JPEGs are not as well recommended. They are not a great file type to be using on a website or any kind of other site, as the quality just won't keep with that whenever you compress it. So it's compressing. So you can resize the images and it'll make the file a little bit smaller, but the best practice is to compress those images. I'll put the link up to Kraken.io, which is a program that you can drop your image files in, and it will compress that for you, leaving you with a smaller amount of data being used.
Cool. And then the other thing I was going to mention was, I totally lost my train of thought there.
I'm just looking for the site for you right now, and I'll drop that in right away for you in the chat.
Great. Yeah, and one thing I was going to mention too. So what I've helped someone with before, when it came to producing images for their e-commerce website, I was working with an antique shop who they were photographing all of their inventory themselves and posting it to their e-commerce website. And so to streamline things a little bit and reduce a kind of step that was needed to compress file sizes, was, when you think about your cell phones, a lot of people don't realize that your cell phone can actually shoot very large photos. Like they're relatively speaking, they are quite large in file size and resolution. So by just changing the capture resolution on your in your photography app, or like within your phone, that can help kind of set you at a good starting point where you don't have a bulk load of images that are just massive in file size that all then need to be compressed. If you're taking them just at a very reduced resolution, then you can hopefully forego that step of having to then compress everything a huge amount.
And again, if you're not understanding everything that we're kind of talking about today, definitely book a consultation with us where we can go over this kind of topics with you one-on-one, so you completely understand what we're talking about. Another really good tool that we've mentioned as well is the digital audit. This really gives you a complete in-depth look of how you're doing on the web and how your web presence is being taken. And we also give you tips and tricks and tools to improve on any area that you may be lacking. It's a very useful tool to have to be able to make sure you're growing your SEO experience.
Yeah, definitely. And so Leanne asked another questions. How do you get better SEO when your site is less word dominant? So again, I guess taking into consideration there's more pictures or artwork on her site. I mean, I would say definitely you still want to try to add content, because that's what is going to let Google know what your pages are about. But then on top of that, as Maggie had pointed out earlier, making sure to fill in the alt text for each of those images. That's going to really help as well.
Yes, this is where if you aren't a content or a word content dominated page, that this is where you can use your keywords. What the alt tag or the alt text is doing is simply giving a description of what that image is about. This is also useful that if your image can't load properly, it will give the users their description as well, so they know what the image would have been or is supposed to be.
And then I think I was going to ask another question about yeah, so user experience. Let's talk more about that in terms of how it helps your SEO. I know from our digital audit process, we look at the usability of someone's site. Can we talk about how that impacts? So just the simplicity of like good, clear navigation and why that is detrimental to their SEO.
So you want your users, whenever they come onto your landing page, you want them to easily and clearly be able to move around your website. And that's where your clear navigation comes into play. So again, if you're an e-commerce site, you clearly want to have each of your navigations, such as to different products that you have or different categories that you're selling, easily being able to view. This lets users right away click on exactly what they're looking for. And if you don't have an e-commerce site, it's simply the home about what your product or your service is offering, or if you're an artist, what different pieces of art you have, and a contact page as well. You really want the user to be able to quickly look at your site and know exactly what they're looking at. Another really good thing on your website is to have your social media links, not only in the footer of your page, but also at the very top. So again, the user can easily click that and go directly to your Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, or Instagram page.
Yeah, definitely. Someone had a suggestion for Leanne. Would it help to do a live virtual tour of her art on Facebook or YouTube and post those on her homepage, or would this hinder her site? That's a good question. Specifically, so I would almost kind of rephrase that for the group in that, does video in any kind of context help or hinder your SEO?
So video's tricky. Video tends to be a very large file as well. So that's where you're going to come into some load times for your page. So you need to have an eye on that to make sure that your page is being able to load quickly and have the video on there. Videos don't tend to give you a lot of backlinks either, which people aren't going to share your video as more apt as, say, a great piece of content or a great photo or image. But they are another very useful tool for people to be able to get more experience of what you're about and what your product's about. So definitely for an artist, that's a great idea. And it will link to your YouTube page, which is creating more links that you want. Another great idea would be a 360 photo that we offer through the Digital Service Squad as well. This is a really neat thing that you can have that gives a complete view of your space.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you do have to be sort of cognizant of the added load time. But with 360 photos, we have used a third-party website that hosts the 360 photo, and then you can embed it onto your web page, similarly to how you would embed a YouTube video. But it allows users to then be able to like click and drag and look around your space, which is really, really cool. Any other questions from the group here?
Another key thing I will say is that it's great to have multiple sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube. But again, you want to make sure that you're posting content relevant, like weekly on there, and updating it so that when your users go to those sites, they're not seeing the same post that they saw a month ago, because they won't want to go back to your site if you're not constantly updating and maintaining these sites. So only do as many sites as you're actually able to continuously be able to create content for and create quality content, because it's quality over quantity. Oh.
Perfect. Yeah. I think we are about good to wrap up. Let me just share this for everyone. And so, yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us today. Just a reminder to book your free consult with your digital service squad. If you have not already done so, we can help with answer these questions and more, and do digital audits, 360 photos, and let you know about all the other services available through Digital Main Street. And you can even get started by registering your business at digitalmainstreet.ca. Just a reminder as well that we have a full calendar of events planned for the next couple of months. And you can access that, register for upcoming webinars at enterprisecenter.ca/calendar. The next one next week, October 14th, is for vendors. So we're specifically doing a presentation for digital marketing vendors, so website developers, designers, SEO experts, digital marketing consultants, to teach them about the Digital Main Street program in order to leverage that for their own clients, because there's a $2,500 grant available. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's kind of important. But because there's a $2,500 grant available, we're eager to reach out to vendors who can help promote that program, and they can use that money with those vendors to grow their business and enhance their digital marketing. So please feel free to pass that on if you know any digital marketing vendors who might be interested. Yeah, definitely check out the upcoming webinars coming up every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video webinar. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.